Imagine waking up one morning to discover that the $8 billion you thought was safely stored in your crypto account had vanished overnight, not lost to a market crash, not stolen by hackers, but deliberately taken by the very person you trusted to protect it, a curly-haired 30-year-old who convinced the world he was the good guy. This is the story of Sam Bankman-Fried, the disgraced founder of FTX, who orchestrated the largest financial fraud since Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme. He fooled Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen. He charmed Sequoia Capital into writing him massive checks. He got Larry David to mock cryptocurrency skeptics in a Super Bowl commercial. And while he publicly claimed to sleep on beanbag chairs and drive a Toyota Corolla, he was secretly living in a $40 million Bahamas penthouse, using customer money to fund his lavish lifestyle, political bribes, and his failing hedge fund. In November 2022, his empire collapsed from $32 billion to absolutely nothing in just 1 week. Today, you're going to learn exactly how he pulled off this con, why brilliant investors missed every red flag, and what his 25-year prison sentence teaches us about trust in the digital age. Because this isn't just a crypto story, it's a masterclass in deception. If you're fascinated by the economic disasters that changed our world, the financial stories that happened while most of us were sleeping, then hit that like button and subscribe to The Sleeping Economist. Ring the notification bell, because we're uncovering the truth behind the biggest money scandals in history, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Chapter 1. The Golden Boy Nobody Questioned. Let's go back to 2019, when Sam Bankman-Fried was just another smart kid trying to make it in cryptocurrency. He'd graduated from MIT with a physics degree and spent a few years trading at Jane Street Capital, a prestigious Wall Street firm. But Sam, who insisted everyone call him SB, wasn't interested in traditional finance. He was obsessed with something called effective altruism, a philosophy that says you should make as much money as possible so you can donate it to causes that help the most people. On the surface, this made him different from every other greedy crypto bro. While other founders talked about Lamborghinis and moon missions, SBF talked about malaria nets and pandemic prevention. He pledged to give away his entire fortune. He wore cargo shorts and ratty t-shirts to billion-dollar meetings. He claimed to live frugally, sleeping on a beanbag in his office, driving a beat-up Toyota Corolla. The media ate it up. Here was a billionaire who actually cared about saving the world. In 2019, he founded FTX, a cryptocurrency exchange where people could buy, sell, and trade digital assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Think of it as a stock market, but for crypto. His pitch was simple. FTX would be the safe, regulated, trustworthy exchange that crypto desperately needed. Unlike competitors who operated in legal gray areas, FTX would work with regulators, protect customer funds, and bring legitimacy to the Wild West of cryptocurrency. The timing was perfect. Bitcoin was entering another boom cycle. Retail investors were flooding into crypto, looking for the next way to get rich quick. And they needed somewhere to park their money. FTX promised to be that place. Within 2 years, FTX was valued at $32 billion. SBF's personal net worth hit $26 billion, making him one of the richest people under 30 in the world. But here's what nobody knew. From the very beginning, FTX was built on a lie. Because while SBF was running FTX, he also controlled another company called Alameda Research, his personal crypto hedge fund. And these two companies weren't just connected. They were sharing the same bank account, with Alameda using FTX customer deposits as its personal piggy bank. That's like the owner of your bank also running a casino and using your savings account to place bets at the blackjack table. Chapter 2. The House of Cards Grows Higher. By 2021, Sam Bankman-Fried wasn't just running a successful crypto exchange, he was becoming a cultural icon. FTX started spending money like there was no tomorrow on celebrity endorsements and sponsorships. They paid $19 million per year to put their logo on the Miami Heat's arena, renaming it FTX Arena. They signed Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen as brand ambassadors, paying them millions in cash and FTX stock. They got Larry David to star in a Super Bowl commercial that cost $30 million, where he mocked people throughout history who were skeptical of new innovations, implying that doubting FTX was as stupid as doubting the wheel. A celebrity strategy worked brilliantly. If Tom Brady trusted FTX with his money, why shouldn't regular people? The company attracted over 1 million customers who deposited their life savings, retirement funds, and college tuition money. At its peak, FTX held more than $8 billion in customer assets. Meanwhile, venture capitalists were throwing money at SBF like he was the next Steve Jobs. Sequoia Capital, one of Silicon Valley's most respected firms, invested over $200 million and published a glowing profile, calling him a future trillionaire. Ontario Teachers' Pension Plan invested $95 million. SoftBank, Tiger Global, and dozens of other elite investors lined up to get a piece of FTX. The total raised? Over $2 billion in venture funding. But behind the scenes, Alameda Research was hemorrhaging money. SBF's hedge fund was making increasingly risky bets on obscure cryptocurrencies and lending money to sketchy projects that would never pay it back. When those bets went bad, and many did, Alameda didn't have enough money to cover its losses. So what did SBF do? He simply reached into FTX's customer accounts and took what he needed. This wasn't a sophisticated hack or a clever accounting trick. It was straightforward theft. FTX had given Alameda a special exemption in its computer code that allowed the hedge fund to have a negative balance, meaning Alameda could withdraw more money than it had deposited. No other FTX customer had this privilege. It was like SBF had given himself an unlimited credit card funded by everyone else's savings. And the numbers were staggering. Between 2020 and 2022, Alameda borrowed more than $8 billion from FTX customer accounts. $8 billion that customers believed was safely stored in segregated accounts, protected and untouched. $8 billion that SBF was secretly using to prop up his failing hedge fund, buy luxury real estate, make political donations, and fund his effective altruism projects. Chapter 3. The Empire Cracks. In May 2022, the cryptocurrency market experienced a massive crash. Bitcoin dropped from $69,000 to under $20,000. Ethereum fell from $4,800 to under $1,000. Across the industry, over $2 trillion in market value evaporated. Crypto companies that had seemed invincible started collapsing like dominoes. One of the first to fall was Terra Luna, a so-called stablecoin that was supposed to maintain a value of $1. Instead, it collapsed to zero, wiping out $40 billion in a matter of days. Then came Celsius Network, a crypto lending platform that froze customer withdrawals and eventually filed for bankruptcy. Three Arrows Capital, a massive crypto hedge fund, blew up after failing to meet margin calls. BlockFi, Voyager Digital, one after another, they failed. Alameda Research was in serious trouble too. Many of its biggest investments had been in projects that were now worthless. The hedge fund faced billions in losses. But instead of admitting defeat and shutting down, SBF doubled down. He positioned himself as the industry's savior, the responsible adult who would rescue failing companies and restore confidence in crypto. He gave interviews to Bloomberg and the New York Times, portraying himself as the grown-up in the room while other companies crumbled. Behind the scenes, he was using more FTX customer money to bail out Alameda and keep up appearances. He bought real estate in the Bahamas, $40 million worth of luxury properties for himself and his inner circle. He continued making political donations, giving over $70 million to Democratic and Republican candidates and causes, becoming the second largest donor in the 2022 midterm elections. He threw lavish parties at his penthouse. He and his girlfriend, Carolyn Ellison, who was also the CEO of Alameda Research, lived like royalty while claiming to be sleeping on office beanbags. The deception required help. A small group of insiders knew what was happening. Caroline Ellison, Gary Wang, FTX's co-founder and chief technology officer, Nishad Singh, FTX's director of engineering, and a few others. They created fake balance sheets using QuickBooks basic accounting software you'd use for a small business to hide billions in losses. They manipulated FTX's code to conceal Alameda's special privileges. They lied to investors, auditors, lawyers, and customers. But by November 2022, the walls were closing in. Chapter 4. The week everything collapsed. On November 2, 2022, CoinDesk, a cryptocurrency news outlet, published an explosive investigation. They'd obtained Alameda Research's balance sheet, and it revealed something shocking. Most of Alameda's assets weren't in real currencies like dollars or Bitcoin. They were in FTX's own made-up token. It was like discovering that a bank's reserves consisted mostly of coupons printed by the bank itself. The article sent shockwaves through crypto Twitter. People started asking uncomfortable questions. If Alameda's balance sheet was this shaky, what about FTX? Were customer funds actually safe? 3 days later, on November 6th, Changpeng Zhu, the founder of Binance, FTX's biggest competitor, announced that his company would be selling its entire position in FTT tokens, worth over $500 million. CZ, as he's known, cited recent revelations and said Binance needed to protect itself. The message was clear. One of the most powerful people in crypto didn't trust FTX anymore. Panic erupted. FTX customers rushed to withdraw their money. On November 6th alone, customers tried to pull out $6 billion, but FTX couldn't process the withdrawals. The money wasn't there. It was gone, taken by Alameda months and years earlier. SBF tried everything to stop the bleeding. On November 8th, he announced that Binance had agreed to acquire FTX and make customers whole. For a brief moment, it seemed like a miracle rescue was possible. But the next day, Binance walked away. After conducting basic due diligence, looking at FTX's actual financial records, they discovered the hole was far too deep. The $8 billion in missing customer funds, the commingling of assets, the fake accounting. Binance wanted nothing to do with it. On November 11, 2022, FTX filed for bankruptcy. Sam Bankman-Fried resigned as CEO. In the filing, the new leadership described FTX as having a complete failure of corporate controls and a complete absence of trustworthy financial information. They'd never seen anything like it in their careers. The collapse was total. $32 billion in valuation gone in 8 days. Over 1 million customers locked out of their accounts, unable to access their money. Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen, Larry David, Kevin O'Leary, Shaquille O'Neal, Naomi Osaka, all the celebrities who'd endorsed FTX, were now facing lawsuits from angry investors who trusted their recommendations. Sequoia Capital wrote down its entire $200 million investment to zero and deleted the fawning profile about SBF from its website. And where was Sam Bankman-Fried during all this? Still in his Bahamas penthouse, giving bizarre media interviews where he claimed he'd made mistakes but hadn't committed fraud. He went on a Twitter Spaces call with hundreds of thousands of listeners and rambled for hours, contradicting himself repeatedly, seemingly unable to understand that everything he said could and would be used against him in court. Chapter 5. Justice Catches Up. On December 12, 2022, Bahamas authorities arrested Sam Bankman-Fried at the request of the United States government. He was extradited to New York and charged with wire fraud, securities fraud, money laundering, and campaign finance violations. The indictment laid out the scheme in devastating detail. SBF had stolen at least $8 billion in customer funds, lied to investors and lenders, bribed foreign officials, and made illegal political contributions using stolen money. One by one, his co-conspirators flipped. Caroline Ellison, his on and off girlfriend and Alameda CEO, pleaded guilty and agreed to cooperate. Gary Wang, his MIT roommate and FTX co-founder, did the same. Nishad Singh, the engineering director, followed suit. They all admitted to participating in the fraud and provided detailed testimony about how SBF directed the scheme from the beginning. The trial began in October 2023, and it was a disaster for SBF. Prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence: customer Slack messages, internal company documents, testimony from his former friends and colleagues. Caroline Ellison testified that SBF had directed her to use FTX customer funds to pay Alameda's debts, and that he'd set up the special code that allowed Alameda to withdraw unlimited amounts. She described how he'd approved fake balance sheets to hide the losses from lenders and investors. The defense's strategy, that SBF had simply made business mistakes and didn't realize what was happening, collapsed under scrutiny. Text messages showed him discussing the scheme in detail. He'd authorized the code changes that enabled the theft. He'd approved fraudulent financial statements. He'd personally decided to spend customer money on real estate, political donations, and celebrity sponsorships. On November 2, 2023, after just 4 hours of deliberation, the jury found Sam Bankman-Fried guilty on all 7 counts. The verdict was decisive. This wasn't negligence or mismanagement. It was intentional fraud. On March 28, 2024, Judge Lewis Kaplan sentenced him to 25 years in federal prison. In his sentencing remarks, the judge didn't mince words. He said SBF had lied during his testimony, shown no real remorse, and demonstrated that he would be willing to commit fraud again if given the chance. The judge noted that while SBF claimed to care about effective altruism and helping humanity, he'd actually stolen billions from ordinary people, teachers, nurses, small business owners who trusted him with their savings. The sentence sent shockwaves through the business world. 25 years meant SBF, who was 32 at sentencing, wouldn't be released until he was in his 50s. It was one of the longest white-collar crime sentences in recent history, second only to Bernie Madoff's 150-year sentence. Chapter 6. The Lessons We Slept Through. The FTX collapse teaches us uncomfortable truths about trust, regulation, and human nature in the digital age. Let's break down what happened and why it matters to your financial life right now. First, understand the theft mechanism. FTX customers believed their crypto was held separately, like how your bank can't use your checking account to make investments. But FTX's terms of service, buried in legal jargon nobody read, actually gave the company broad rights to use customer assets. SBF exploited this ambiguity, treating customer deposits as his personal slush fund. Second, the celebrity endorsement trap. Tom Brady didn't analyze FTX's financials before becoming a spokesperson. Neither did Larry David or any other celebrity. They were paid enormous sums to lend credibility to something they didn't understand. Yet millions of retail investors assumed that if Tom Brady trusted FTX, it must be safe. This is exactly what SBF counted on, using trusted faces to bypass critical thinking. Third, the effective altruism disguise. SBF's public persona, the humble billionaire sleeping on beanbags and pledging to give away his fortune, was a calculated deception. It made him seem trustworthy and different from other greedy crypto executives. But actions speak louder than words, and his actions were pure theft. He spent customer money on a $40 million penthouse, private jets, political influence, and bailing out his failing hedge fund. Fourth, the regulatory vacuum. FTX was headquartered in the Bahamas, partly because cryptocurrency exchanges face less oversight there than in the United States. This lack of regulation meant no independent audits, no separation of customer funds, no regular examinations by banking authorities. When everything collapsed, there was no FDIC insurance, no government backstop. Customers simply lost their money. Fifth, the venture capital failure. How did Sequoia Capital, one of the smartest investment firms on the planet, put $200 million into FTX without catching the fraud? Because they were seduced by growth numbers, celebrity buzz, and SBF's pedigree. They didn't demand to see detailed financial audits. They didn't question why a crypto exchange needed to be connected to a hedge fund. They got caught up in FOMO fear of missing out on the next big thing. Finally, the human cost. Behind the billion-dollar numbers were real people who lost everything. Some of these people will never financially recover. The bankruptcy process might return pennies on the dollar, but most of that $8 billion is simply gone forever. So what can you do with this information? 3 practical steps. 1. Never invest money you can't afford to lose in speculative assets like cryptocurrency, and certainly never on platforms that aren't properly regulated and insured. 2. Diversify your holdings across multiple platforms and asset classes so that no single failure wipes you out. 3. Be deeply skeptical of anyone promising revolutionary returns or claiming to be different from all the other greedy people in their industry. That's often the biggest red flag of all. The FTX scandal isn't just a cryptocurrency story. It's a timeless tale of fraud dressed up in modern technology. Throughout history, con artists have used the same playbook: create an aura of trust, exploit people's greed and fear of missing out, and steal everything before anyone figures out what's happening. Bernie Madoff did it with investment returns. Enron did it with energy trading. Sam Bankman-Fried did it with crypto. The technology changes, but the scam stays the same. If stories like this, where we uncover the economic events that shaped our world while most people weren't paying attention, fascinate you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, because we're just getting started with these financial educational mysteries.